All right, welcome back now to video number 2. And in this particular video, we're going to talk about one of the most important things that's probably on your mind, which is how do you actually generate leads from the new web visitors and web traffic that you're going to receive either through our local search efforts or a combination of our local search efforts plus our local advertising methods. This is one of the most misunderstood concepts by most of our clients when we first sit down and get started. So this is probably the video that I really want you to pay close attention to what I'm about to say and understand this concept clearly, because if you do, when you do, your business results online are going to grow exponentially. And I know that's a big statement and that's a big claim to make, but here's the statement that I need you to accept right now. Most of your web visitors, the highest majority, in the high 90% range of web visitors to your website, are not interested or ready to buy today. I'll say that again. 90+% in the high 90s range of your web visitors, potential customers, interested buyers, qualified visitors, whatever you want to call them, the highest 90% of them are not ready to buy today. The online sales funnel is made up of 3 components. It actually is made up of 3 components offline as well. We break them down simply by saying people are in one of 3 modes of thinking when they're online. They're either in research mode, number 2, they're in comparison mode, or number 3, they're in buying mode. And what I'm suggesting to you is that in the high 90 percentile range, that the majority of your web visitors are in the research and comparison mode and not in the buying mode. Many years ago, I was taught something that was referred to as the iceberg theory. And I would like to share that with you right now because conceptually this is the most important piece of information I think I could share with you in this video. Again, we're going to talk about the 4 strategies that you see on the screen in just a moment. We're going to talk about, how to create an offer and what copywriting means and how we do it for the different stages that a buyer may be in. We're going to talk about landing pages and what they mean and really how to capture leads. But the most important thing you need to understand, and I'm going to use this iceberg theory the way it was taught to me 10, 12 years ago. The majority of your competitors, let me back up. The majority of the iceberg sits beneath the water. If you don't believe me, do some research, pop out to Google, go on Wikipedia. The majority. For the sake of this conversation, for the sake of the way I think of it in marketing, I think of it as 80 to 85% of the iceberg is beneath the water. We cannot see it. We can see 15%, maybe 20%, 10%, 15, 20% above the water. The majority of the mass of the iceberg is beneath the water. I think of that in every aspect in marketing, and I have done so, and it's served me so well over the years, and this is what I believe will serve you. If you believe what I just said, and the majority of your customers are beneath the water, which means they're not ready to buy yet, why would you only want to compete for the ones that all of your other competitors are competing for who are actually above the water? So if the smallest percentage of buyers are above the water, raising their hand saying, I'm ready to buy. Now, we're not saying we don't want those buyers. We want those buyers, don't get me wrong. But what I'm suggesting to you is when it comes to generating leads, if your website only says, buy from me, or click here to order now, or call us 24 hours for service, and the smallest percentage of buyers are in that mode when they make it to your site, and there's many other competitors in your space, which likely there are, or you probably wouldn't be in a profitable industry, right? Competition is necessary for there to be a profitable industry, but we don't have time to do that in economics right now. But the point of it is, why would you only compete for the buyers who are the smallest percentage? Why wouldn't you want to attract and want to begin a relationship with the 80-85% that are beneath the water. And they're beneath the water when we say that they're in research or comparison mode. So let's develop that a little bit further. So when I use the real estate example in video number 1, back in real estate in the 90s, if someone wanted information about a property, they wanted to know how many bedrooms, how many bathrooms, how much square footage the property was. Maybe they drove by it in a neighborhood. They would have to call, me as an agent back then and ask me questions. And I would have to spend time on the phone answering those questions and, the mundane questions. And as much as I wanted to as a salesperson to get that buyer in my car and go show them the property and sell them the property, the highest majority of those phone calls that came in, they were just gathering information. That's what the largest majority of people are doing online. They're gathering information. So when it comes to generating leads and what we call creating offers on your website, we are essentially developing sales funnels or information funnels that meet your visitors' needs when they arrive on your website 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, whether you're open or whether you're closed, and you're able to give them what they want when they're not ready to buy yet without it wasting your time. I hope that makes a little sense. So when we talk about generating leads, we are thinking through the process. We are visualizing and discussing with you how your customers typically buy. We ask you question after question after question about what do your customers ask you about, what are their concerns, what's keeping them up at night, what are the problems that they want to solve, why do they want to solve them, what would they benefit from having those problems solved, and we really dive deep on a series of psychological questions that would lead your customers online to search for an answer. And then generating leads has to do with our ability to work with you with creating the processes on your website, whereby we give some of the information away on your website, and then we create opportunities for them to get more information from you in what we call offers. I'm going to use an example here in just a moment, but I want to cover these 4 topics here under generate leads very quickly so that we can understand what we're talking about. When we simply say offer creation, we are essentially saying we are going to provide some value to a web visitor in exchange for some piece of information from them. And in most cases, we're asking for a first name and or an email address. And if nothing else, we're asking for just the email address so that we can begin a relationship. The next thing we're doing is we're writing copy or words, text on your website that speaks directly to the questions that are in their mind so that there's an instant connection with the pages that they land on and the questions they have in their mind. They're landing on a page we call a landing page or a capture page or a sales page, whatever you want to call it. The semantics are immaterial at this point, but they're landing on a specific page based on the messaging for that particular page and that particular question that's in your prospective customer's mind. Okay? And then we're asking them to trade information with us, right? So they're giving us the ability to capture their name and email address, which to you and to us is a lead that now you're in control of, and you have now one step above your competitor to build a relationship with that potential customer. One thing you want to keep in mind in the traffic section of growing, when we talked about traffic and we get traffic to a website, that visitor is not just coming to your website. It doesn't matter how good your product is. It doesn't matter how nice your website is. It doesn't technically matter if your website's ugly or pretty. It doesn't matter how much you paid per click. It doesn't matter if you were in the first position or the 10th position. It doesn't matter if you were in the A or the G section. It didn't matter if you were on maps or in social media. At the end of the day, your visitor had many pages to choose from, and you need to understand that they chose multiple pages, not just yours. Again, they chose multiple pages to click on, not just yours. If that is true, and it is, then your job, once you get them to your website, is to get them to stay, get them to stick, and in some way, if possible, get them to give you their information, especially if they're in the research and comparison phase. So let's develop this a little bit with a specific example. One of our clients is they're in the LASIK industry. They're in the LASIK eye surgery industry. He's a well-renowned doctor here in our marketplace. He's done likely more surgeries than anyone in the state, far ahead of his game in terms of his skill set, his technology. Just brilliant doctor, great to work with. And I want to use his scenario and his story as kind of an example. This particular client of ours had been working with another well-known company in our industry for many years, and they had actually built a significant amount of traffic coming into the website. So the website was already being found when we started working with them. The first thing we did in this particular example when we started working with him was look at why is the traffic not producing the results? Why is the website visitors, why are they coming to the site and leaving and not doing what he wanted them to do, which is obviously convert and come in for consultations and actually get their surgeries performed, et cetera, et cetera. So what we did was we broke down 3 gaping holes in what we call the fact that the website wasn't speaking to research and compare. They were only speaking in a large sense to the buying audience and the buying population. So what we did was we went in and created a couple of offers. One of them was strictly from a research standpoint, which in his case had to do with the myths, the things that people think about, they're afraid of. We identified with him the 2 major concerns that his customers had long before they ever thought about getting the actual surgery, and we broke down the psychology of his buyers. So we broke down one of the offers that spoke directly to the 2 biggest concerns that his customer would have, and we broke down a process to address that. So that was lead capture funnel number 1. The second one was for someone who was more along the line of comparing, maybe further down the process of making a decision, and we broke down another function of his website to where when they landed there, if they were down the interest level a little bit further, they were closer. If we use the iceberg scenario, they were further up from the bottom of the iceberg, getting closer to the surface of the water, where they were about to stick their head above and say, yes, I'm ready. And so we created another function around another important psychological step that his buyers were taking in the process. So that was funnel number 2. And then funnel number 3, or capture page or offer creation number 3, had to do with when they were absolutely sticking their head above the water saying, you know what, I am ready to take that next step. And so what we essentially did was we found a way to maximize the conversation with his website and those visitors, and making sure that we had the right messaging and we understood the dialogue that was going on in their head when they were doing their search query. And I know this may sound a little bit kind of esoteric maybe or what have you, but it's psychological. Your buyers go through the same processes no matter what product, no matter what service you provide, no matter what your profession is. In some cases, it may be faster or slower than another company or another industry, but believe us on this when we say that all of your buyers online are going through the same process mentally. And if your website addresses each of those processes, whereby you can speak effectively to the things that are most pressing in their mind, we call them frequently asked questions. We call them, things that keep them up at night. What's really their main goal? And we do that through a 4-step process of creating offers specific to the psychological questions going on in their head. Number 2, we write effective copy or text, right? Words on pages that let the visitor know that they're in a safe place to go ahead and give us their email address and continue a dialogue with us, you that is. And third, we build this on a specific page with a specific purpose, which is what's called a landing page. And fourthly, we're asking them to trade their email address with us for the value that they want to receive. That essentially, my friends, is what it takes to generate leads from a website. Now, some of you may be thinking, well, Daryl, my business is different. I just want people to pick up the phone and give me a call. Great. That's perfectly fine. When your business, if the buyer is ready to make a phone call and they're not necessarily interested in filling out a form, we understand there are some industries where that is the case in some cases, but holistically speaking, web forms and pages that are designed to capture information that speak to the audience will appeal to a good majority of your web visitors, provided that we're speaking their language and speaking to the pressing concerns in their mind. And it's funny because we have some industries where their sales cycle is 72 hours. 72 hours from the time a visitor may have this particular problem, and they pick a vendor within 72 hours. We can instrument this process inside a 72-hour window, or what we call kind of an emergency service business, or we can instrument it into a business like in this particular case over a 2 or 3 year process where a person may be thinking about a high-end procedure such as LASIK. So to wrap this video up, I just want you to understand again the theory and the thought process that all of your visitors, the majority of your visitors, are beneath the surface. They're not ready to pull out their credit card. They're not ready to schedule a consultation. They're not ready to buy. They're not ready to hire you. So if that's the case, and it is, how do we then get them to identify themselves with us sooner when they're in the research and comparison stage? Because the majority of your competitors are just fighting for them at the buying stage. This is one of the most effective and most pivotal processes in your success online. To wrap this video up, the first month that we instrumented this procedure on that example, on that business's website, the LASIK company's website that I described a moment ago, we generated about 230 new leads for his business practice. 230 new leads in 1 month, and we've just continued to build on that and build on that and build on that. That's 230 leads that likely would not have picked up the phone during that first visit and given him a call to schedule a consultation. So think about that. What would 230, not saying that that's a guarantee of what you're going to get, by the way, but imagine what would happen if we got enough traffic to your website and all of a sudden 10, 20, 40, 50, 60, 230 new leads started identifying themselves to your business. Do you think that would make a difference? Well, in video number 3, we're going to talk about what do you do with all those leads, right? How do you handle those in an automated, leveraged format so that it continues to bring in new, what we call business inquiries. When they're ready to buy, how do we make that happen sort of automatically that is, over the long run so that it builds a leverage system and tool into your business. So as we wrap this video up, I hope that this video has made some sense. You can listen to it again, but this is the pivotal process that once we implement this into your business, once getting traffic, by the way, is easy. Getting found is relatively easy. Either you're putting in the time period it takes to get found, you're purchasing the advertising to get found, you're structuring your campaigns, we take care of all that. Getting the traffic part is easy. Getting inside your customer's head, understanding what your customer's thinking, understanding the problem that they want to solve, understanding the reservations and the concerns that they may have in their business or in their life that they want to solve with your product or service, the better you can communicate that on your website, the more exponential your growth will be in terms of your online sales success. So my name again is Daryl Evans. Thank you for sticking with me through that long video and that explanation, but I will see you back in video 3 when we talk about how do we then take these leads and help you then increase sales over a period of time, which is really where you pull the true growth in terms of sales success in your online business. So I'll see you there in the next video. Take care.